Hey MotoAmerica fans, this is Matthew Scholz. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the MotoAmerica YouTube channel for more coverage and also like or comment.
You've landed on the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship from VIR in Alton, Virginia. It's round 2 of 9 for 2021. It's MotoAmerica Superbikes at Virginia. We have been gifted with outstanding weather again for day number 2 here at Virginia International Raceway. Hello everyone, welcome to Supersport. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time champ Jason Pridmore, and welcome to the broadcast booth. Now, yesterday's race, Jason, Sean Dillon Kelly checked out. However, there was an awesome race for the podium, finishing with Stefano Mesa in second place, but he was banged up.
Well, Sean Dillon Kelly had to keep an eye behind him because those guys were a lot closer. We've been wondering who is going to bring the fight to Escalante and SDK. Stefano Mesa, after crashing early in the morning, this guy just never gives up, Greg. Got the bike back together, and he was the guy pushing the pace along with number 88, Benjamin Smith, and you can see Escalante just back there in the background. These 4 guys were like this pretty much the entire race, but Mesa ends up getting by Benjamin Smith late in the race to collect second spot, and only just behind SDK.
It was great seeing the 37 on the podium, and our very own Hannah Lopa had a chance to catch up with him.
Greg, Stefano Mesa is currently sitting 4th in the Supersport points, but not after a hard-fought battle yesterday. Stefano, yesterday's practice, you had a bit of a get-off. How are you feeling physically after a good night's rest?
Yeah, definitely. Yesterday in Q2, I suffered a pretty big high side, and I didn't knock myself out, but I hit my chest pretty hard and my head pretty hard and my back. So can definitely feel it more today than yesterday. At this point, I don't really know what to expect. You know, yesterday was a great race. It was a great battle. So we'll see what we got after the injury. Definitely hurts, right? Definitely the pain is there, but I'm sure once the adrenaline takes over, it'll be a little bit better. So we'll just see what we got.
After racing to a second-place finish yesterday in the condition that you were in, do you think that you'll feel a little bit more prepared headed into today's race?
It could be. I already know maybe what to expect with the pain, right? So I think I'm going to go out for morning practice and just see how my body feels. And for the race, I just have to suck it up and see what I can do, you know. After the result yesterday, we know we can maybe fight for the win. So we're going to try and go out there and try and do a few more aggressive, be more aggressive in the start of the race and see what we got at the end, you know.
Thanks, Stefano. Best of luck.
Guys.
Greg?
What a heroic effort from Stefano Mesa to get second place, but the other rider occupying the podium was Benjamin Smith, and what a great run he had as well. Let's get down to Jamie Howe with the 88.
Benjamin Smith was finally able to get that monkey off of his back, earn his first Supersport podium in the race one yesterday. For you to be able to do that, what has it done to your confidence?
I mean, it's been huge. Like you said, I've had this monkey on my back for quite a while now. I feel like all the pieces are finally coming together, and I'm able to show what I can do and be at the front where I feel like I should have been for a while now. But you know, I'm ready to keep making steps and you know, keep going forward at this point. We're looking to hopefully get a win at some point and be up there consistently throughout the season.
You said the bike wasn't the issue yesterday, but you noticed a couple of things with yourselves. What will you change for race number 2?
Yeah, absolutely. After going back and watching the races last night, there's definitely a few things with my lines that I want to change that I think, you know, at this point it's just small margins because we're already at the front, but those, you know, a couple tenths here and a couple tenths there are definitely going to help out. And so, yeah, I'm going to hopefully apply that today in the race, and we'll see how it goes.
As close as it was yesterday, Greg, let's look for Ben to be back at the top today.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the case. And if we look inside the numbers, Jason, you know, how many points he scored from 18 to 20, and now what he's looking at right now is first podium finish. This kid's on the rise.
There's no question about it. It's been a tough 3 years for him getting used to the 600, but he's definitely starting to come into his own now, and running up at the front yesterday is going to do a lot for his confidence.
What about the number 1 plate, Richie Escalante, Jason? For Escalante, racing with a broken collarbone, you've been there.
I have been there, and they treated it really well to start with. But he was right there at the front yesterday. He's going to be able to put this little bit of pain behind him and hold on for these laps again today, I think. And you know, Greg, when you race with it on the first day, you kind of know what to expect. You heard Mason say that earlier about kind of his pain. His pain's going to be a little different because his accident was yesterday. For Escalante, though, he's going to be just fine today. And I bet you he brings the fight a little bit more to the front this today.
All right, well, I mean, Jason Pridmore, you're the expert. That's what we're here for you to give us this stuff. The #1 plate, Jason said, he's going to be right in the mix. But VIR is the challenge, Jason. Take us around this 2.25-mile racetrack.
Absolutely great racetrack, Greg. Big, long front straightaway down into turn 1. That's where we see some mistakes, but we see a lot of overtaking down there as well. In through turn 2 and 3, and then really you're going all the way flat to turn 7. Then you go up a big hill right along that ridge. Then you're back down the hill from turn 10 down to turn 13 and get that best drive you can to get to the start-finish line.
One of my favorites on the circuit and a great place to come watch race action. We'll step away. Can Rocco Landers and Richie Escalante go after it? It'll be fun to find out after this commercial break. Don't go anywhere.
I'm not sure it's going to be. I think it's going to be another good race. Yesterday, those guys were so close, but it just looked like yesterday.
Today's Supersport coverage.
Just he could control the pace. You know, at the beginning of the race, he ran a certain speed, and then he just kept getting faster throughout the whole race, and he ran his pace the whole race. So I think these guys are playing a little bit of catch up, but you know, like Benjamin Smith talking about getting to race a whole race and watch and see what Sean Dillon Kelly did for the whole race. He's going to learn so much from that and be able to carry that over today.
Yeah, I see the M4 Suzuki there. And again, I just before I didn't have my microphone up, asked who you thought was going to win this thing. I see Sam Lockoff, you know, up there near the front, and he kind of dropped back a little bit. I believe he finished in 8th yesterday. He was impressive because we saw he as well as Rocco Landers up there near the front end of that. It's a good time for these younger kids to really see what it's like to keep the pace with the guys that have been doing it in Supersport for a while.
And Sam got a great start yesterday in the first couple laps, but he made that mistake coming out of turn 7. It seemed like that cost him. And after he lost, you know, kind of the toe from the group, they kind of started to pull away lap after lap. But Rocco yesterday, speaking to him, he had really good pace.
Yeah.
Caught up to the leaders. He had a terrible start. He was like 10th or 11th the first lap and had to pick his way through. And he got almost within a second of the guys, and then it just kind of seemed like he stalled out.
Well, the stalled out part was, in talking with Rocco, is that he has asthma. And the asthma started affecting him during the race. He said he got up to there, and that's when the body just kind of shut off. He said it's something that he has to deal with whenever he comes to this part of the country. Well, we're going to be on the East Coast in New Jersey not too far from now. I don't know. Wisconsin seems like this part of the country, but I didn't really know it would affect him that bad because we'd seen him win before in this part of the country.
But, you know, you have to think the 600's a totally different, you know, animal than all the other bikes he's rode. It's heavier. It's a lot faster. The races are longer. So, you know, definitely the pace is going to be faster than what he's used to. So it's going to take a little bit more energy to run these lap times, and that's going to cause that stuff to flare up more.
We got less than a minute. We get ready. All right, predictions for today. Will we see Richie Escalante trying to lead this pack today early on and stay that way like we've seen it before?
I think we will. I think he's going to try to get a start and control the race like he's did all year. And he just looks so confident, like he has something to prove.
And I think, look for the 88. Ben Smith, he got his first podium. Can he bump it up another notch? Can he get into second? Can he take the win? We're going to find out soon. Supersport, let's send it over to Greg and Jason next door. Guys, take it away. I guarantee you it's going to be a good one.
Today's Supersport coverage is sponsored by Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Back to Virginia International Raceway. Motorcycles are on track for their warm-up lap, and we're going to grid and go. Let's take a look at the starting grid. And, of course, it's Sean Dillon Kelly on row number 1 with Richie Escalante and Benjamin Smith. Stefano Mesa, Sam Lockoff, and Rocco Landers on row number 2. Jason, back to row number 3 at Xavier Zayat, Nolan Lampkin, and Anthony Mazziato. Max Angles, Gabriel De Silva, and Alejandro Thermiotis.
Then we got Carl Soltis, Jarrett Nassani, Liam Grant, who had a little tip-off this morning back there in row 5. Also, Greg, had noticed that I didn't see Zayat land up out there on the outside of that row. Go a little bit further back to Nate Minster, CJ LaRoche, Zaragoza you're going to see there, McDonald.
Jason, as we looking at this grid, I think one of the things that we're interested in is Rocco Landers, the Supersport rookie. Can he get a good start in this one?
We haven't seen one yet this year, and it really makes it hard work for him. Yesterday, he was able, once he got through the people he needed to get through, he made that big charge, and then then we didn't see him towards the end of the race. But if he can just get that bike off the line, Greg, it would be good to see. You see Rocco there on the inside of the second row in the yellow helmet. That's who we're going to look for to maybe try to get a little better start and make his job a little bit easier for himself.
And our MotoAmerica Live Plus lead commentator Robbie Floyd talking about Rocco Landers and the fact that he suffers with asthma halfway through the race yesterday. So take a look at Rocco Landers. Here we go. It's time to get racing. Supersport race number 2. Can Sean Dillon Kelly get another good launch? Look at him go on that M4X Star Suzuki. And he is already a couple bike lengths away, but as we peel it off into turn number 1, who's going to get second place on the brakes? Mesa around the outside of Richie Escalante to put himself right behind Sean Dillon Kelly.
Yeah, now they're going to just start to fan out. I'm just looking back. Rocco didn't get the best start again, but he's made quick work of a couple riders. Looks like he's about 6th or 7th, Greg, but he's on the back of that lead group. Looks like maybe Mazziato just right in front of him on that Kawasaki. So Sean Dillon Kelly doing exactly what he did yesterday, isn't he? He's got off to a good start. He led all the races. I believe you told me this morning that when he got out front, he was a little bit surprised that nobody was exactly coming by him. And he said he just kept running his pace, hitting his marks, and doing his laps. And when you can do that on that number 40 bike the way Sean Dillon Kelly has been able to do so far this year, he's gotten used to being in this position.
So SDK having his way early on in this race. Mesa was really close before they got up onto the top of this ridge. Richie Escalante, the number 1, hanging there as well. He wants to try to find a way around the 37.
Already those same 4 guys again, though, huh? But look at Mesa pushing the pace coming down the hill.
Yeah, it looked like Mesa had to check up a little bit, had a lot of speed coming down the hill. Now we're going to see who's got the legs. Onto the front straightaway we come. Into the tuck, Escalante with a good drive. He's kind of in the middle, going to fan around. So Escalante is going to take the lead for the moment. Mesa goes to second. Sean Dillon Kelly hanging out there on the brakes into turn number 1. It's going to be your reigning national champ, Escalante. Boy, Jason, he was really working the front end to keep that thing in line.
Well, he was able to get the double draft out of that last corner. And, I said in the pre-show that I think Escalante is going to come back with a little bit more vigor today in the sense that he's going to want to get up to the front. He's going to want to control the pace. He also knows that he's got a couple other fast riders with him, and he doesn't want to continue to just give SDK this momentum to go on a 5-race win streak, and that is from last year, the double they did at Laguna, and then the first 3 races of the year this year. Escalante wants to crush that, and you can see now, Greg, he's starting to open up a small gap.
Look at Escalante into turn number 7 up the hill.
And Mesa had got a really good run out of there. You can see him looking over at SDK. All the while, the number 1 is going to dip down to the right-hand side. He actually had a little bit of a double draft there. New tires, too. All these guys are going to be coming out of that corner with a lot of throttle. And Escalante was able to just get the better drive better than the other 2. Now you can see, Greg, in the right-hand portion of our screen, he's already opened up almost a second lead over Stefano Mesa, and that's gonna make Sean Dillon Kelly probably a little bit nervous. He wants to get up there and catch back up to that number 1.
Honos Racing Team, Richie Escalante out of Mexico after yesterday's race, gathering all the health information for himself on how well that plated shoulder after breaking that collarbone is going to hold up. And at the moment, he's got a good rhythm going, does the number 1 plate, but a lot of laps to go in this one, Jason, is the battle for second, third, and fourth continues to rage. It looked like Benjamin Smith. Mesa up and out of the saddle.
Yeah, and you know what happened there was SDK had gone up underneath Mason. I think Benjamin Smith was up underneath SDK. So when they were going into turn 1, there was a lot of swapping going down in there. And you can see Sam Lockoff again with another good run from that young man from our Junior Cup last year. He's kind of hanging on the back of these 3 guys now. But with these 3 guys racing away, I'm going to be really interested to watch how Escalante does. Don't forget, Craig, like we mentioned, he's got that freshly broken broken collarbone. But when you have a day under your belt, you kind of know what to expect the second day. That thing is plated and screwed, so he's now going to just go on his way right now and try to put in some fast laps.
Yeah, Jason, in regards to the collarbone, I spoke with Richie, and he said today he has a much better idea of how his body's going to feel after how he performed in the first race and getting some rest tonight. He really wants to improve in turn 7 in the second sector as a whole, but he actually feels stronger on those left-hand turns because he's putting less pressure on that collarbone. There's less weight on that inside. He uses his core, and his hand is nice and loose. You know, yesterday he made a couple of mistakes. He didn't want to take big risks. He just wanted to maximize points, but today he's feeling better, and he knows that he can really fight for a win.
Well, you can definitely see it in his riding, Hannah, as he's just come across the line. He did 27.1 the previous lap, 27.9 on this one, and the bike actually looks a lot better to me on entry to corners. If you remember in Atlanta, the bike looked a little sloppy at times, as it looks like SDK has made the pass on Benjamin Smith in this battle for second and third and fourth. You see Mesa still hanging on, but for sure, it's a great report, Hannah, on the fact that you always feel better the next day once you kind of know what you got under your belt from the first day.
Well, SDK right now, not the speed at the very beginning of the race that we saw yesterday. Jamie, any news on SDK?
I spoke with him just before the race, and he said he went back and he watched the race in its entirety from yesterday. He said you can't learn a lot when you're out front. You don't know what your competition's doing, where you're better, where they're better. And they decided to make a change on their tire selection. They went with a softer rear tire. They're on the same extra soft that most of the rest of the field is on. He was on a different one yesterday, and it didn't give him the lap time that he wanted. So he's looking for something a little more aggressive in this race. But what he did notice, we mentioned that he was sick after Atlanta. He had flu-like symptoms, was down, couldn't train. He noticed on lap 1 yesterday how fatigued he was. He was hoping to be able to fight through that a little bit better today.
Yeah, I had a similar conversation with SDK, and he was really surprised at how his energy level was, Jason, after lap 1, and he was just expecting the field to come by him, and he said, they weren't coming by me, so at that point I just said, just try to be consistent. But then I asked him, how long was that race for you? And he said, surprisingly, not as long as some other races have felt. There goes the 88 trying to go up the inside. He doesn't do it. But Benjamin Smith proving again that he is a front runner here in Supersport. He is definitely, Jason, at the top of our list of emerging riders in the 2021 season here in MotoAmerica.
Yeah, no question. And like I said, Sam Lockoff, all of the first 5 riders are in the minute 27 range. 27.4 for your race leader. He was able to pull out an extra couple of tenths there and has a 1.2 second lead. Benjamin Smith is going to continue to take shots at Sean Dillon Kelly as you see them running down now towards turn 7. But that Yamaha on the number 88 and the 37 of Mesa are both able to draft that Suzuki right now of SDK. Lockoff doing a tremendous job. Here's a good look at him as he comes up through the ridge and the S's, and this is his first year on the 600. Has been doing a lot of testing down in Jennings, or at least riding a lot down in Jennings.
He certainly has, the M4X Star Suzuki rider of Lockoff. Now for Sam, Jason, in talking with him yesterday was a bit of a learning experience. He said that he actually got the peg down in turn number 5, which upset the bike and dropped him back. But then when Rocco Landers went by him yesterday, he said they were heading to turn number 7 underneath the bridge, and he forgot for a moment he was on a 600, and the draft caught him out. He had so much speed after drafting Rocco in that short section that he ran wide. So he said, look, you know, I know a lot of people are looking at me saying speed, and it's great. He said, but I'm continuing to learn in Supersport because it is a jump from the Junior Cup Class 2 Supersport.
No question, and the guy he's talking about is right here. Rocco Landers running right now in 6 has just dipped into the 27s himself at 27.9, Greg. He got a better start, but wasn't exactly up there with those leaders. But Sam Lockoff and Rocco know each other well from last year, just different size motorcycles now.
You mentioned, Greg, that Rocco suffers from asthma in this part of the country. It's bothering him a lot worse. It was compounded yesterday by the fact that they went with a softer tire selection, and by the time those tires fell off, Rocco was trying to fight it so hard he actually couldn't catch his breath. So that was a big struggle. They made a change, went with a little bit of a harder tire for today, but they've also had to fix a lot of electrical issues. I talked to his dad, Stoney. He said they've already fixed 2 of them prior to the race yesterday, but when he came off of the track afterwards, the bike died again. So they knew they had another issue. They tore it apart completely, went through it, found something pretty major last night, put it back together, and for the first full session, it worked in warm-up.
There's a guy in left part of your screen, Stoney Landers. Doesn't get much sleep during the course of these race weekends.
or not weekends. I think he's working full 24/7 on the bikes all of the time. Get a good look there at Gabriel Da Silva coming down the hill. Here's Anthony Mazziato. Good to see him back as well. As we get back to the leader at the front, he's circulating in the low 27s. Is Richie Escalante, 27.4. So he pulls out again, Greg. He's got almost a two-second lead now on Sean Dillon Kelly, Smith, and Mesa. Mesa that time with a 27.7, but you can see on the screen, Escalante, I just felt like today he would come back and this would be the one. He wants to turn his year around. He's going to MotoAmerica where he ended up doing the double last year. He wants to start getting a little momentum on his side.
He does, because this guy right here, M4 X-Star Suzuki, Sean Dillon Kelly, on a 5-race win streak, which means Escalante hasn't won in that long, and he's trying to get back on the winning ways and a streak of his own. But so impressive from the 88, Benjamin Smith on his Northeast Cycle Outlets Racing Yamaha R6. And then Stefano Mesa continues to impress us as an injured young man, and this privateer program that he has going on the Mesa Racing entry. Great job to be in the top 4 right now, as Mesa, a little bit of a seesaw going on right now. He closes in some sections. You can see there's a couple of bike lengths now developed when we get to that 5A to 10, turn 10 section.
Yeah, and he's just far enough back where he can't quite catch a sniff of the draft, because Benjamin's going to be drafting off of SDK down this front straightaway. So if Mesa could just get a little bit closer out of here, he'll get a double bike draft, but he's just a little bit too far back to catch that right now.
And Greg, you mentioned that Mesa's kind of not feeling his best after a high side crash in yesterday's qualifying session. He was actually planning on competing in Stock 1000 this weekend as well. But after getting hurt yesterday, he made the decision to commit only to Supersport, and it paid off for him with a second place finish. But practicing on that big bike really helped his confidence with rear grip, especially on the Supersport bike. These slick conditions in this heat, the rear will sometimes move around on him, but now he has a better idea of where the limit is for the Supersport bike as a result of riding that larger displacement motorcycle.
What makes all of Mesa's success even more impressive, at least to me from the pit lane, is the fact that he has no data on that bike. He said, yes, we can afford to have all of the sensors, the telemetry. What we can't afford at this point in our program is to have somebody come and read it and analyze it. So they set up this bike, he and his chassis engineer, just based off of feel. They don't know how far to go in any one direction, but once they find something that Stefano feels like he can race, they stick with it, and they don't make a lot of changes.
Well, to add to that too, Jamie, this young man here does more laps than a lot of people because he's continuously racing. He's got both the ZX-10 and the 636 Kawasaki's in his stable, so it's going to be much easier for him to come up with setups and especially baselines on new bikes that he gets, because he does so much riding. He chases the Kawasaki contingency money down in the Florida region, and I know he races at a lot of other tracks north of Florida as well, but just about every weekend, or at least probably 2 weekends a month, Stefano Mesa's on his bikes.
A continuing battle between Sam Lockoff and Stoney Landers, or Rocco Landers, as Rocco has now caught Sam Lockoff. M4 X-Star Suzuki versus that Landers Racing Yamaha R6. And Rocco going to try to get underneath Lockoff, but Lockoff good on the brakes.
Well, that plus Rocco's got a lot of chatter on the bottom of the forks there. When you see him bottoming out the way he is, down into turn 7, I noticed it just now, and right now into turn 1, there's a lot of chatter coming from that 97 R6 of Rocco Landers right now. You'll see it, Greg, here in a minute, as Lockoff runs just a little bit wide as they come out of turn 3, and that allows Rocco on through. If we stay on this shot, we're going to see Rocco's going to go under the bridge, down braking hard into turn 7, and you're going to see the front end of this bike shuddering quite a bit.
Yeah, and that's definitely a function of lack of track time due to some electronics issues. So there goes Rocco. Yeah, you can see it just shuddering ever so slightly. Jason, what do you got to do as a rider when you feel it doing that? You can't just ride it normally. You've got to do what?
Got to be sensitive to it, and you got to be really sensitive on the brake lever, and especially on your tip in, because you don't want to feel like if the forks are bottomed out and you start tipping it in, especially in 7, because it kind of goes back to camber. So you don't want to drive the forks into the ground even more, because that'll transfer straight to the tire, Greg. So he'll ride around that, and even down into turn 1 just now when he was trying to go up underneath Lockoff, you could really see as he pulled the lever on harder and harder, that chatter got a little worse.
So we're watching Rocco Landers come onto the front straightaway. Up ahead of him, Richie Escalante has already crossed the line. 2.5 seconds behind Escalante is Sean Dillon Kelly, and half a second behind is Benjamin Smith with Mesa there in tow. So Rocco in 5th spot, now with a couple bike lengths between himself and Sam Lockoff. So Richie Escalante, you cannot say enough about how surprised he's been with his own performance. Having surgery less than 2 weeks ago to plate his left collarbone, and he is just crushing it today.
But, you know, sometimes when you have an injury, it causes you to change how you ride as well, Greg. Getting a little bit smoother on the bike, doing things a little bit more in sync with how your body is feeling. And if you watch how he's going into these turns right now, we've seen a ton of movement from this cow. He backs it in a little bit here, but we've seen a lot of movement from the bike at the previous round in Atlanta and even yesterday. Today, it just looks like he's riding it so much smoother and easier, and I'm not noticing the bike jumping around and moving around underneath him quite as much.
It's so easy to plan for a race. It's a lot harder to execute, but Richie Escalante is executing exactly what he laid out on paper this morning. He said he was going to go to 100% for the first 1 or 2 laps, build up a gap, which he's already seen him do, and then scale it back just enough so he can conserve his energy and his strength to be able to fight at the end of the race. So when we get down to about 3 or 4 laps to go, keep an eye on him and see if he goes back up in lap time.
Okay, thanks, Jamie. Sorry, Ben Smith with a miscue and down and out. So our podium finisher from yesterday, out of 3rd place for Benjamin Smith.
Yeah, what a shame to see that. And going back to what Jamie is saying, you know, when you look at something that Escalante's doing, he knows that he's going to be fresher at the beginning of the race so he can push harder. But he is continually just dropping the hammer here and going 0.2 a lap per sector quicker than the guys following now. This battle that was for 4th is going to be for 3rd now between Rocco Landers and Sam Lockoff. It looked like Rocco had started to pull away a little bit. Sam wasn't having any of that, and he's already started to claw his way on the back.
Left part of your screen, Jason.
Oh, he's going to lose the rear. Might high side him off the inside, Greg. Let's see. We saw him do this. It's just going to come all the way around on him, isn't it?
Wow.
Wow. He's extremely lucky there that that bike didn't catch and snap on him. You see Mesa going by on the left-hand side.
Taking evasive action. You know, Jason, this talks about when you feel a high side coming, stay in the gas, because if he was that far gone and had chopped the throttle, he would have been to the moon.
Well, I'll be honest. What I saw him do in the last corner in Atlanta and save it coming to the line that day. But when it's here, this has got a lot of camber. They just went by. Rocco and Sam just went through the area where Benjamin did that, and he was very lucky that bike didn't come around and snap back on him.
So now it's Richie Escalante leading Sean Dillon Kelly by 3.2 seconds. Stefano Mesa's in 3rd, 1.3 back, and then Rocco Landers and Sam Lockoff duking it out for the 4th place position. De Silva now to 6th ahead of Mazziato. Soltis in 8th, Grant in 9th, and Nassani in 10th spot.
And you know what? I said just now that battle was for 3rd between Rocco and Sam, and obviously I was wrong. Mesa's still there in 3rd, so that battle is actually for 4th and 5th now. And you can see they're a little bit more spread out. You can see Mesa's bike getting a little bit out of shape as he comes out of turn 1 there. And here's that battle for 4th that I mistaked on just now. Lockoff goes over to the right-hand side as Rocco looks over the left shoulder to see where he is. Sam had positioned himself on the right-hand side of Rocco.
So this is closed right up as Lockoff now just a couple of bike lengths behind Rocco Landers.
And these guys had some really good battles in Junior Cup last year. Obviously, Sam was one of those kids that stepped up his game. Rocco was having his way in that class. There was a couple other guys. Obviously, Dominic Doyle comes to mind, who's out with injury right now. But Lockoff was one of those emerging stars even last year in our Junior Cup, and now these two guys are tied together again and learning as they go. You know, different class, different group of riders that they got to ride around, different bikes, obviously. So there's a lot going on for both these young men, and they got a big future ahead of them.
And for the number 44, Sam Lockoff out of South Africa, the M4X Star Suzuki rider, not 100% as he's learning these larger displacement motorcycles with more horsepower. He told me this morning inside the transporter, we were having a conversation that the strength, his braking strength, for his right wrist starting to bother him. They're not sure if it's what's going on there. Might be some arm pump or whatever for Sam Lockoff.
Greg, yesterday he mentioned to me, you know, having that P5 starting from the middle, he definitely went quicker yesterday than on Friday, and the goal was to continue to progress off of that. He's been working with Jake Zemke and PJ Jacobson really closely, especially in between rounds. They're there to kind of help spot, watch him, to give him advice, and he said it's really made a big difference and helped kind of take away from the learning curve that's been so steep for him so far this season. So ever forward, ever onward, they're making solid progress, and he's really happy to continue to see better results each race.
When I talked to Sam this morning, he was standing outside of the transporter with his hands in front of a fan, drying off the super glue that he had to put over his palms where they were so calloused from riding both here this weekend and then back at home in training. And he said the biggest challenge of making this step up to the 600 category is learning how to control the horsepower and managing that strength, Greg, that you talked about, and managing the bike.
Yeah, and doing it with minimal damage as far as, you know, not tossing the bike down the road every single weekend and things like that. And he's got two great guys with a lot of experience in PJ and Jake Zemke, that is, PJ Jacobson and Jake Zemke. I mean, two great guys that you can learn from. They've been there, they've done that, and now they can pass that knowledge on to a young guy like Sam. That's invaluable.
As we look at Richie Escalante, you know, to button up what's going on with Sam Lockoff, it also takes Sam to be open to learning and getting that input from people and applying it. So great job by the young South African. So Richie Escalante continuing to lead this one, now extends his lead to 5.2 seconds over Sean Dylan Kelly. Lap traffic in the way.
I saw Nolan come in. That was Nolan Lampkin. I actually saw him roll back down pit lane, so he obviously had a problem. Here's Sean Dylan Kelly right now, 5.2 back. He ran just about a tenth off of what Escalante did that last lap. But what can you say about Richie? He's just set sail today. He was very obviously motivated today, and like we said, you know, sometimes when you're injured and you don't know how you're really going to be going into a weekend. Friday morning practice is always kind of one of those, how's it going to feel? What's going to happen? But Greg, when you get a collarbone plated, it's amazing. You literally wake up from that surgery and you feel, wow, you feel great. You feel like your collarbone's really put back together, and with today's medicine and that kind of thing, it doesn't take long for these athletes to bounce back from things like this. As Richie comes up on to the back of Thomas McQuigg, goes by him going down the hill here. You can see there he did 27.1 on his second lap, and he's been living in the 27s. He's had a couple low 28s, but he's been living in the 27s nearly the whole race. 27.9 the last time through. Have a look and see what this one is. 28 flat that time by.
Yeah, and don't forget, Jason, that we mentioned this in yesterday's broadcast for the Honos Racing team. That 2021 Kawasaki is slightly different, and they didn't have a chance to test it at COTA. And so when he destroyed the first bike at Road Atlanta, they rolled out that 2020 machine. That thing hadn't even been touched since COTA, so that had some issues. So this bike was brand new, came from California, and came straight to VIR, and so they're still working on developing the 2021 Kawasaki ZX6R. And yesterday's laps that Richie was able to do is a huge benefit for not only Richie to figure out physically how he's doing, but for this team to really get the motorcycle set up properly for Escalante. And if this is the way it's going to go for them the rest of the season, it's going to be another Richie Escalante, Sean Dylan Kelly battle in the championship all the way down to the final race of the season.
There was a lot of opportunity for him to give up a ton of points in the first round. I mean, he crashed his bike in Saturday morning qualifying. They built the bike. They barely got it back together before the start of the race. He was able to salvage second out of that one. And then again, the next day, kind of the same thing. Then he goes off and breaks his collarbone. So that he's probably sitting there 2 weeks ago thinking to himself, I'm going to give up points when I get to VIR. Get the surgery the very next day, and that really helped him. And you're able to kind of get back into some sort of training regimen. Even with a collarbone, you can still get on a bicycle and spin. You can even get in a pool, those kind of things, to still stay somewhat active and be somewhat ready. But you never really know how you're going to be till you jump on the motorcycle.
About 3.5 laps to go in Supersport race number 2 here from Virginia International Raceway with Richie Escalante, Sean Dylan Kelly, and Stefano Mesa. Processional at this point, as you look at lap times, Jason. Rocco Landers is in 4th with Sam Lockoff close behind, but Rocco not able to make any inroads on Mesa at the moment, about 3.3 seconds adrift. Here's a good look at Sean Dylan Kelly, and as we learned, a change in rear tire for him. Not really sure if that's part of it or that fatigue that SDK is feeling, and Richie Escalante reinvigorated after yesterday's race. I mean, how long has it been since we'd seen Richie Escalante, Jason, off the podium when he's actually finished a race?
Yeah, I honestly couldn't tell you. It's been a long time, and probably have to go back a couple years on that one, because I know he was on the podium a lot last year.
There's a look at Nolan Lampkin, who was a podium finisher earlier on this season in the first round of the Supersport Championship, who came in So Lampkin down in 19th place. Looks like he's 2 laps down.
Had a bike overheat yesterday, and then it looked like he had a problem in this one as well because he had come down and in through pit lane. And here's the battle. Lockoff has made his way through and past Rocco Landers. I've been watching this on the screen a little bit. They'd also encountered some traffic this lap, so I wonder if that had anything to do with the fact that Lockoff gets through here. Looking at the lap times these guys are running, they're about mid-28s. That time's 30.1, so that's going to be kind of traffic-induced. 30.7 for Rocco, so maybe he got to the traffic first, got slowed up a little bit, and that helped Lockoff go on through. But I'm really impressed with both of these guys, just how good they look on these bikes. Lockoff, you could tell just by stature, he's one of the smaller guys, and but he's been spending a ton of time on this motorcycle.
Yeah, and this is the part where Rocco Landers he doesn't like to be passed. But it's something that's new for him in MotoAmerica competition anyway, Jason, because he's won so many races in his first 2 seasons, 3 national championships already. So this is where Rocco really starts to learn about himself and how deep he can dig in this one. But sometimes, Jason, when you have the front end bouncing around like that under braking,
see it, right? You see it
that
time?
particular one, you definitely could. That one was translating right to the top fairing as well.
Yeah, and you can see the whole fairing and everything kind of just shaking. So Stoney's going to be wise to, Sam just got out a little bit wide and got loose, and that allowed Rocco to go underneath him. You can see it gets, when you ride in the same place on the track, a lot of these guys are tight through there. You get out there a little bit wide where other people haven't been riding so much, and the bike will get a little bit loose, and that's what happened just there with Sam. He did a really nice job saving that, but that's allowed Rocco to get through, and now he's going to be able to probably draft past Nolan Lampkin. Nolan does the wise thing, looks over his shoulder, probably has some blue flags, and is kind of rolling out of the way here.
Yeah, but Sam was doing the smart thing too. He's trying to get behind Lampkin to try to maybe get a slingshot around him and then close in on Landers after that miscue a few turns ago. So there's Stoney on the wall. This is the pit wall. If you're new to motorcycle road racing, pit boards hang out for riders when they get information. There's no onboard communication in MotoAmerica motorcycle road racing. So the battle for 4th continues to rage on. Rocco Landers back by Sam Lockoff. Lockoff on the 44 on that M4 X-Star Suzuki. Rocco Landers on that 97 Landers Racing. That privateer effort, that family-run effort, with a bunch of sponsors. Landers out of Oregon, I think, 16 years old now, Rocco Landers, and 3 championships into his career. There's nothing but great things on the horizon for Rocco.
I think the fun part of this job is that these will be the guys that will be battling for the lead in a year or 2 from now. Next year they're going to just continue to get better and better. This guy doesn't care about any of that right now, Greg. 6.5 second lead last time through. This time he's going to see the white flag as he comes out of this last corner. He'll have a look over at his pit board. You'll see it on the right. And he's going to see that he's got almost a 7-second lead. Still running low 28s. That last time by 28.1 again this time. White flag is out for Richie Escalante.
Interesting line he took on the front straightaway. He was all the way out to the left and practically in the dirt, Escalante. So Richie Escalante, after breaking his collarbone in a bicycle incident a couple of weeks ago and having surgery, having it plated, he was concerned about his fitness coming into this round if he was able to do these laps, only not really able to exercise like he had been in the past, and Escalante is a hard worker. As for Rocco Landers, he is now broken free of Sam Lockoff, and Landers looking to march his way towards a 4th place finish. Can't say enough, really, Jason, about these 2 young riders. Rocco's already been on the podium in our 2nd round after a do not start in the first race, which saw Rocco hit the deck uncharacteristically in a race. He has really rebounded from that. As for the number 1 plate of Richie Escalante,
coming down the hill for the final time. He's got 1 more left, 1 more right to go, and this one's going to feel good, Greg. Not only just because it's a nice win for him, but he's kind of broke a streak that STK had started.
Here he comes, the front straightaway, and he is excited. He's pumped. Richie Escalante back to his winning ways, and he does it in Supersport Race 2 here at Virginia International Raceway. Sean Dillon Kelly comes home in 2nd spot. And for 3rd, we didn't get to see much of him second half of this race. Stefano Mesa, another podium finish for the young man out of Florida. Rocco Landers will hold on to 4th, Sam Lockoff in 5th. Well, there's something else. Jason, it didn't go the way we thought it might go with Sean Dylan Kelly dominating the weekend.
Really, it was just the pace of the number 1 right off the bat, Greg. Those first 2 laps, he got his head down. He got that double bike draft coming out of the last corner, was able to get through the 2 guys in front of him, and then just set sail. Goes off and does 27.1, and I believe that's almost half a second, or is half a second quicker than the next best lap time, which was Sean Dylan Kelly at a 27.6. So, I mean, half a second's a big gap as far as best lap to best lap.
All this guy wants to do is win.
Yeah.
Everything he does is focused from diet to exercise to, like we heard earlier, his plan. The plan that he had for the race. And it came to fruition today. And I would say, when you look at Escalante, Jason, we've seen him at the front for many years. He generally doesn't show a tremendous amount of emotion.
He's happy, and, you know, I don't think he gets too up and gets too down, and I think that's he's a pretty steady guy, and you can see here he's congratulating Mesa, and you know, this is going to feel good to him. Now he's got a couple of weeks to get even more healthy, probably get back to both him and Sean Dylan Kelly. Got a couple weeks now to get a little bit more healthy, get back to their normal training regimens, and be ready for MotoAmerica.
Yeah, and hopefully for the 88 rider of Benjamin Smith, he is okay, and his confidence didn't take a hit in that one. But right now, all congratulations to Richie Escalante. We'll step away. When we return, we're going to hear from Richie and how he feels about his big race win.
Robbie Floyd and Roger Hayden back here with our impression here of what we just saw, and it looks like Ben Smith going to get a ride back to the paddock area with Stefano Mesa, who finishes on the final step of that podium. Strong race for Richie Escalante, something we haven't seen this year. We've seen spurts of quickness, but we get to see the whole package today.
And his race pace today was just so much faster than yesterday's race, and just pretty much pulled away the whole race. And you can just you could see the relief after the race. You know, he doesn't really show a lot of emotion, and then you could just tell how excited he was for one to kind of finally stop the bleeding, and proved himself. He still can do it, and he did it convincingly.
Well, the Honos Kawasaki, I think they got that bike a little bit closer to what they wanted. Maybe the adjustment by SDK, I believe, had a different tire combination. Looking through, you know, they send us that, and we hear that you know, Richie Escalante had the soft rear. That might have been a good factor for him. Something a little bit firmer he knew he'd have at the end of the day. And if he was that fast early, that had to give him confidence for later on in the race.
Yeah, he could just be more consistent all the way through. You know, with a little bit harder tire, you would have thought that maybe he wouldn't have been as strong as he was in the beginning. But
he was.
Maybe it worked better at the beginning, or maybe he just likes the feel of it better.
Yeah, that's true. The cheer is on the Honos cap. Hudson Valley crew and Honos doing it for Richie once again. And the dominance, though, taking off, like you said early on. That's what I thought I was going to see out of Sean yesterday, and he did it, and he didn't. Once he got out in front and led, he kind of backed the field up a little bit. When Richie got out in front, he wanted to pull away. He wanted to get away from everybody.
Just for whatever the reason was, the pace was just a little bit quicker, or, you know, a lot quicker today. Yesterday, a lot of the guys' best lap was 28.1 or 27.9, and today most guys were in the high 27s, and Escalante was in the low 27s. That's a second quicker than his best lap time yesterday, and he was just reeling them off consistently.
You see Papa Mesa over there smiling as his son, you know, makes it on top of the podium in third, the Mesa 37. And it'll be interesting to see what, you know, the medical evaluation is for Stefano Mesa, because he keeps clutching that right side. And I saw him down there, and he even told me yesterday when he was out there on the Stock 1000, he didn't know if he would even have that 600 ready. He crashed so hard yesterday, and he's in pain. They got the bike back together, and for a privateer effort, that in itself is a miracle.
Yeah, and just shout out for him. Not a really big team, and him and his family just really, really go all in, and it's cool to see him get back out there with a double podium.
And that's going to pull him up to third in points with Ben Smith dropping out as well. Sean Dillon Kelly, Richie Escalante, and Stefano Mesa. We'll hear from them here in just a bit. Send him back over to the guys next door.
Today's Supersport race coverage has been sponsored by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Welcome back to VIR, and Sam Lockoff gets our Geico save of the day. Boy, man, that was that thing was coming around.
It's another foot or so from being disastrous, so that's a good save by Sam. And those are the kind of experiences you put in the back of your head as a young rider, and you learn from them.
Jason, let's take a look at the results from Supersport race number 2 here from VIR. As Escalante, 7.583 margin of victory. Mesa, a nice, comfortable third, and then that great battle between Rocco Landers and Sam Lockoff. That distance in terms of time doesn't tell the story of that one, but let's hit right down to winner's circle because Hannah is with our winner.
Well, Greg, the season didn't start quite the way that our defending champion had planned at Road Atlanta. A crash, but still a good points haul. 2 second-place finishes, but a broken collarbone and all this weekend. You raced your way to your first victory of the season. Richie, physically, how are you feeling overall?
First, Richie's back, so I'm so happy. My team, Honor Racing, Hudson Valley Motorsports, on my race, Kawasaki, is amazing, you know. Atlanta is hard, so change the click and come here with broken my collarbone only 2 weeks. Very hard, to be honest. I tried my best in the first laps to take the gap and then just looking forward for my rhythm, and in the last lap I can't ride the bike, you know. No energy, so I'm so happy thanks to my personal sponsor, AGC Helmets, Virco Suits, Frey Chalin, and all my team, all the sponsors. I'm really happy and looking forward for the next one.
Congratulations, Richie. Guys?
I like that. Richie's back.
Yep, Richie's back. And before the show here, Greg, I kind of just had a feeling that he was going to be able to come out and do what he needed to do. And like he said, towards the end of the race, he was getting pretty tired, only to be normal. But when you've got that 6-second lead, 7-second lead, you can back off a little bit at the end.
So congratulations to Richie Escalante, but right back down to the podium with Jamie.
After winning the race yesterday, Sean Dillon Kelly was surprised by the lack of pressure from the rest of the field, but having felt it today, what was the biggest challenge of this race?
Yeah, definitely a challenging day where we're not happy at all with this P2. We came here to win and we couldn't do it today. We've been working and we've been trying. So we did three wins, and today we couldn't. But props to Richie. He did a great race, great pace. But I promise I won't leave it as easy for the next one. So we're gonna keep on working. We're gonna come back stronger. We're gonna do our homework, and nothing. Just props to my team. Thanks to all my guys, my family, Fresh and Lean, Ride Helmets, everyone back at home. Love you guys and all these guys as well. See ya.
Hashtag determination. I think the story of this one for STK 40.
He limited damage. It's 5 points that he gave back. So Sean's going to be ready to go at that next race, Greg, at Road America. And really last year it was a little bit of a rough one on him, but I expect that to be completely different. He's definitely not going to leave it as easy when we get to Wisconsin.
All right, let's get right down to Hannah.
Rounding out our top 3 for today's Supersport race, Stefano Mesa. After an injury yesterday, you were able to race your way to a podium and a second podium today. What were you able to learn after a good night's rest that helped you in today's race?
To be honest, today was a little bit more painful than yesterday. I just went out there in the first couple laps, tried to situate myself. I tried putting myself in the lead, but that didn't work for so long. Richie came by me and was completely out, and I was just struggling getting through the S's. My crash yesterday set me back a little bit, but I'm happy we put it up here. My hat's off to my team, Graves Motorsports, KWS. KWS worked on these bikes for 24 hours this past Monday to get me over here, so my hat's off to Mike over there and just everybody that makes this possible. Thank you.
Congratulations, today's third place finisher, Stefano Mesa.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a gutsy effort by Mesa, because we know day 2 after a crash
Day 2 is the worst. Yeah, I mean, day 1, day 2 is the worst, and he'll probably be sore tomorrow than he was even today. So really nice work from Stefano there, Mesa, to get himself back up on that podium again.
All right, so they're going to get to enjoy their podium celebration in a moment. We'll step away, but have more from VIR after this.
people. It's time to make some noise for these people. Can you make some noise out there for VIR? In third place.
Look at how much scrapage was on the back of Mesa's gear. I mean, he took a tumble. Again, I'm curious to see what it was, and he fought his way through that. Richie Escalante fought his way through that. And you can see Mesa still struggling with that. But one thing I heard in that interview was, I get that feeling of last year's back again. You know, Sean's like, I promise you, it's not going to be that way. I'm going to be up there closer next time. And MotoAmerica, he had been fast. He had one mechanical issue that cost him last year. But, I mean, he's going to be there next round.
Oh, he's going to be there for sure. I mean, you can't just judge a guy off this one race at Road Atlanta. He was super fast and been fast all weekend. Today, he just, you know, Richie was just a little bit better. And, you know, Sean will come out swinging for the next one and do his homework and really come out. And he's going to have a little extra motivation now. That taste of second place that's going to be in his mouth for the next couple weeks is really going to get under his skin and push him to come out stronger at Road America. And Sean has been stronger this year already than he was last year, and he's going to be that much stronger at Road America.
I agree. You hear the enthusiasm, all the cheering down there at the Park for May and the Podium area there. You can be a part of this too. You can show up in person at all of our stops. So we do have an open pit, or open paddock rather, not necessarily pit lane, but open paddock where you can go down there and meet your favorite riders and talk to the crew. And again, don't bug them; they're going to be busy at times. But it is an open paddock there. You see that it would be just to the left of the screen where that flag is. You see the people moving their way around, and our camera crews getting back in position again. But it is an open atmosphere here, and you like signing autographs for the fans. I mean, there's a lot of Roger Hayden fans out there, and you get to meet them personally.
Yeah, and that's what makes the sport is the fans. That's why all the guys make time for the fans, and all the teams do all this extra stuff, give away T-shirts and do stuff for the fans because they know how important it is to, you know, the fans is what builds the sport and selling tickets and the whole thing. And that's what makes MotoAmerica so great is you can walk by and look at all the bikes and see all the trick parts and look at the, you know, the super bikes and see the cool swing arms and all that all the way through the whole field. You can walk by and see any of the teams. And it's also, I think, for the teams or fans as well, when you watch guys working on the bike. You know, when you're seeing professional mechanics doing things, and if you're into motorcycles, you can come here and watch that from outside the tent, get autographs, pictures, whatever you want, and also you can get right up on close to the action.
Get to see how they do what they do. Is we have the fans in full effect here, and Jason Wygant mentioned it yesterday and was talking about it, how, you know, this sport has seen some hard times, American road racing. This is MotoAmerica's, sixth year, I think, now. You look at the fans, you look at what you're seeing, the entries, motorcycle sales are at an all-time high because of COVID. I mean, it is unfortunate that COVID came out, it's affected a lot of people, but you see the fans and how much they're into American road racing right now. We put some Americans on the world scene. Things are only looking up, and we also bring a good product in the quality of racing with these racers at each and every stop. Make sure you join us in person. If not, make sure you join us here on MotoAmerica Live Plus. We're going to send back over to the crew next door and see what they have to say about Supersport.
Back at Virginia International Raceway after an entertaining Supersport race number 2 as Richie Escalante back to a very familiar spot we've seen him in for a couple of years, Jason.
Yeah, absolutely. You heard him. Richie's back. And I really felt like this was the key win for him today. Stop the momentum a little bit of what Sean Dillon Kelly has done such a great job of starting up this year for him and his M4 X-Star team. Those guys are going to battle again. And now we got a couple new guys, I think, with Mesa and Benjamin Smith. And I mean, Lockoff, Rocco, they're all going to start to find their way up to that front too.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we've seen, I think, this weekend definitely is the emergence of Benjamin Smith, and to see if he's able to maintain that the rest of the season. Let's take a look at some highlights, Jason, from Supersport race number 2. And how this one started was almost perfect for how Richie Escalante wanted it to start.
Well, it started perfect for SDK once again, just like yesterday, but this was the key on that very first lap. Mesa was able to draft past and allow a double draft, and Escalante was on his way. You see Mesa gets a little bit out of shape as they come out of turn 1. But the number 1 bike was set in sail. Sean Dillon Kelly was trying to make his way through these other two, and they were going back and forth a fair bit. And, you know, this is when Escalante was running 27 ones and things. And then unfortunately, we see Benjamin Smith slide off. Such a shame. Puts it on the podium yesterday and unfortunately on the ground today. This guy just kept opening up his lead, getting bigger and bigger. Lockoff here has a big moment that allows Rocco Landers to get through a position that Landers would hold all the way to the finish. 4th place for Rocco. But you can see how much it meant to Escalante today. Comes in here a little bit broken up, gets a little bit momentum back.
Yeah, and kind of shakes off the way the season ended last year and gets back on top of the box. So we definitely have a fight in this championship. As you know what, Sean Dylan Kelly with a perfect start to the season, 75, still comes away with 20. So Escalante only claws back 5 points.
Did a great job. I mean, that's what you got to do. You got to minimize your damage. He ends up finishing second. He had a little bit of pressure, obviously, all the way to the finish there from Mesa. So, but SDK is going to rock into Wisconsin with a 17-point lead. And they go to some tracks that he did really well at. He's going to go back to those, the Ridge and Laguna Seca, with some pretty good memories.
And Jay, looking ahead to Road America, you have to think that, boy, that draft and pass comes into play. So you're looking at the 2 leaders in this championship right now, but how many riders do you think you're going to start throwing into the mix that could affect that point spread?
I think you're going to see 3, 4, maybe 5 guys that could be in that lead draft. And that's the difference between the points difference that you see there. You know, yesterday Benjamin and Mesa were able to get in between Sean Dylan Kelly and Richie Escalante, and that's why you see that 17-point gap from that perfect season that SDK had started.
So finally we get our second race winner in Supersport of 2021. It was entertaining, a great weekend for Supersport. We're going to do it again in 3 weeks from Road America and let this championship continue on down the road. We've seen the emergence of some stars this race weekend. Will they continue it? For Handelope with Jamie Howe and Jason Pridmore, I'm Greg White. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you in a couple weeks when MotoAmerica continues from Road America.